Hi guys, I just wanted to do a quick video on one of the key points on your journey of healing or rejuvenation. You have to realize that you are here to learn about the power of choice. And that at any given point in time, no matter what you are experiencing, especially if you are experiencing a moment, a reality that you are not enjoying, that doesn't suit your ideal reality, you have the power to change it. And it sounds so simple, and it is simple, but at the same time, it's one of the most profound realizations that we can have on our journey of self-realization. So I'll give you an example. I think it was during my second master fast, my second 40-day fast. And I woke up one morning and I was utterly wiped out. I felt like I had been hit by 3 trucks and my whole body was just heavy and sore, and I really felt like death. And sometimes that can happen during, especially the master fast or during a cellular detoxification program. And I thought, okay, no, today I cannot possibly get out of bed. I thought today is one of these days where, my body's going through deep healing and I just have to honor that. I think I don't know, you can see a mark. I just woke up from a nap. So yes, I love napping in the afternoon. Even if it's just 10 minutes, it's such a powerful practice. So anyway, so I woke up, felt like, I've been hit by a truck. And I thought I was going to just stay in bed. And then I realized I could choose. And as much as in that moment it really felt unfathomable to get up and to find any strength, I think I was maybe, like sort of on day 25 or 28 or something. I was kind of, not early days. And I decided I wanted to get up. I wanted to feel the way that I had felt so many other days during the fast, when I got up and would jump on the trampoline and until I sweated, and then jump in the freezing cold pool that would wake me up and exhilarate me, and oftentimes go for a run with my husband. And it still seemed unfathomable until I made the choice that no matter how I was feeling, that was a possibility. And by calling in that possibility and by feeling the joy that I would feel by fulfilling that choice, I somehow, and it sounds so simple because, obviously you were not in my body at the time, but it really felt so unfathomable until I chose. And when I chose and I set up and the only way that you will ever know what that felt like is when you will go through your own detoxification process, and when you will access those spaces in yourself where you feel like, today I just can't. And so I set up and I slowly, I was very dizzy as well. And that's another thing that can happen during cellular detoxification, because there's a lot of recalibration happening. There's a lot of mucus draining from the brain, from the head, and just in general, there's a lot happening. There's a huge letting go. So I walked towards the trampoline and I decided, okay, I'm going to get on it. And as crazy as it seems right now, I'm going to do this. And it's amazing how literally within 5 minutes, I was calling my husband and I said, you won't believe it. Like, I can't believe that I went from that state where it literally seemed unfathomable to get up for the whole day, and by willing it into being, and by calling up the energies, by invoking the energies of will, and by connecting to the energies that are constantly available to us, I made the shift and I filled myself with energy. And I was able to, then I think we went for a run, and, I had a fabulous, fabulous day, also because my whole being started feeding on that experience. And it's those experiences where we access our infinite power. And those are the most powerful experiences that we can have, because they are embodied. They're not ideas, they are real. And that is where we realize that we are so much more than just the body. We are so much more than our momentary conditions. And once I really grokked that I could choose my state no matter what, I started practicing it more and more and more. And I think it's Tony Robbins who talks about that as well. You can choose your state. I think he's the one. And so even when I had moments of, I don't know, feeling angry at something, or, annoyed at my children or whatever it is, so see, the key is not to override the state with your mind. And it's, again, not to use willpower without acknowledging where you are at in the moment, because that is a subtle form of abuse, which ultimately takes away from you. Choosing your state and willing your state always entails acknowledging where you are at fully. So in the case of me being completely exhausted in the bed, I had to fully acknowledge that this exhaustion was something that I had ignored, that I had not been willing to feel for so much of my reality before I became ill. And the signs were there, but instead of feeling it, I kept another coffee, another tough exercise class, get that adrenaline going, another trip to Paris, another shopping trip, without a meal, like keep on. And that pulled me out of my body, out of the reality that I was feeling. Whereas in that moment, I realized, and that's such a big key of the healing journey, when I was forced to feel how absolutely exhausted this body had felt. It was like the body was saying, look at me, look at what you have done to me, look at how deeply you have ignored me, look how deeply you have ignored my needs, and look how deeply you have made my needs wrong. You have judged my needs, and you have come with your egoic idea of how I should function, and that has broken you down. And by acknowledging, and really with all of my heart and compassion, acknowledging, wow, I'm sorry, body, I'm sorry, soul, I'm sorry, infinite being of light that you, Alex, are, for ignoring the magnificence and the greatness and the infinite being that you are. And so by feeling with great compassion into that, I was able to make a different choice. But I had to first feel the exhaustion, the abuse that I had put myself through. So I hope this makes sense, because ultimately all of healing, all of transformation, it's funny, whenever I say healing, I hear my mother's voice saying, but what is there to heal? You know, and I feel a lot of people have sort of a strong reaction against the word healing, because it seems like that is all we speak about. But healing simply means bringing into wholeness, integrating. And yes, that is our journey here. We are here to become more and more and more and more whole, and to integrate all the various parts that we've split off from our divine being. All the ways in which we have not honored our divine being, our divine connection to source, to existence, our divine presence as a splinter of the totality, or God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. And ultimately, that we have denied our perfection, because the more that I delve into this journey, the more I realize I was perfect. I am perfect to begin with. I am whole to begin with. It's just we have taken on all these layers and ideas about ourselves, and we have made decisions about ourselves along the journey that now become a way of life, and now they become reflections in life. And that's why I always come back to the fact that all we need to do to heal, to become whole, to remember who we are, is to undo, to take away, to strip away, and to step back. Whereas everything out there in the world, in this incredible, beautiful, paradoxical world, everything is pointing towards adding, doing, taking, needing to learn, needing to become. And that's the paradox, because without that paradox pushing us, pummeling us, we wouldn't be able to realize that, whoa, I have choice. This is not my truth. This is not how I want to do life. This is not my truth. This is not my reality. This is not my divine essence, my divine way of showing up. But we couldn't make that decision. We couldn't realize that without the polarity that is showing us the other side, without the paradox. And that is why we have so many paradoxes. I mean, the world is filled with paradox. And the more that I realize that this is so, the more I realize, oh wait, if the general consensus, you know, or if doctors or scientists or whatever say do this, then you can be sure that by doing the exact opposite, you find what you were looking for. You know, you find truth. So I'll leave you with that, and to really meditate the fact, and it does require a meditation, because everything that I share means nothing until you fully experience it as authentic embodiment, you know. And that's why, just in closing, I want to share this brief story. I always admired a friend of my dad's since I was little. And he was an incredible man, incredibly successful, incredibly powerful, and you know, really, really intelligent, highly intelligent. And so I admired him. And as little girls do, admire, you know, older men, fathers, friends, and so forth. And I then saw him several years ago. And I remember also he was always reading big books, you know, Kafka and all those kind of authors, and, you know, big books. That was his thing, complicated literature. And eventually he deeply got into religious studies and philosophy and metaphysics. And then I saw him, you know, it must have been like 7-8 years ago, and I was in the midst of my spiritual journey, and awakening and everything. And he could see that I had realized something and that I was living a certain way of life. And he asked me, he invited me to his house, sort of away from my parents, and he said, "You know, Alex, explain something to me. I have read all the books. I have really sought out the most complex scriptures and authors. I've read it all. I spent so much time because I wanted answers, because I wanted to experience love. I wanted to experience transcendence. I wanted to experience this totality that they all talk about, having realized. And I see in your eyes that you have realized some of that. I feel it in your heart. But why is it eluding me?" And I thought, wow, that's a big question, you know? And I asked him, I said, "Okay, so you've read all these books, but," I said, "have you ever experienced, have you ever gone into the experience of any of these methodologies, of any of these suggestions that they lay out? Have you ever deeply meditated and felt in your being how that would show up in your life, or what that concept would look like in your life? And have you ever tried to put it into practice?" And I remember he looked at me totally bewildered. And I mean, he was, I think, sort of in his late 70s, maybe early 80s. He looked totally bewildered at me and said, "No, I haven't. I've never put into practice. No. I thought that I could have the experience just by reading these books." And in a sense, I could feel a certain level of arrogance in him. You know, as much as he wanted to know, there was a level of arrogance, kind of, why would I need to put this into practice? I'm an intelligent man. I'm an accomplished man. I have achieved so much. Surely reading would be enough. But the point is, it's not. And I remember, and I took the conversation further, and I tried to get him to understand. And then, just to finish this story, I left with a really heavy heart, because I thought, wow, here's a man that has accomplished really a lot of financial success, and yeah, probably just that. And that he, with all his intelligence and with all his beauty and willingness, he had missed the greatest gift that life has to offer. And I really felt this heaviness in my heart for many, many months. And eventually I emailed him and I said, that conversation really touched me. And I would like to offer you something, because yes, you may still live another 10 years or 5 years or even 20 years. But these are the last years. These are the last chances that you have. And so may I offer you an experience of true divine love, because I knew that I could give him that. And with his permission and openness, and I didn't know yet at the time what I was going to do, how I was going to get him there, but I knew that I could. And so I sent the email off, and I said, that would be my offering to you, because I've always just really had this great admiration and love for you. And funny enough, I didn't expect a reply, but I thought, I have to do this. And then I got an indirect reply via my mother when we were still speaking. And she said, you know, I saw this guy, I don't want to mention his name. I saw this guy the other day, and he just briefly said that you sent this very strange email. And he was totally bewildered, you know, and I, of course, said, well, you know, no surprise. And, you know, that's the story. So he took it as, whoa, crazy Alex, you know, making crazy suggestions. And that's okay. But the point of my story is that unless we are willing to make a fool out of ourselves, unless we are willing to go out on a total limb and experience or call in the very truth that we know is burning in our heart to experience, no matter what that is, then we are missing out on such vast beauty and really experiencing the divine in our daily lives. And I always say you don't need to believe in anything other than yourself. And that if you are here, you're here for a reason that is bigger than just your day in, day out doings. But only you can access that by making the decision and by taking action, you know. So that's my meditation for this afternoon. And yeah, I hope it has served. I always just listen into my heart and feel what story do I want to share. And I trust that it touches even just one person or inspires just one person to realize something that they hadn't realized before. So I leave you with all my love. Bye.